Nestled on the western edge of Port Phillip Bay, an hour and a half's drive from the deadly intrigues of Melbourne, lies Gateway City, the hub of the region, G-Town. For the last 4 decades, an uneasy peace has existed between the Anarchs and Camarilla in G-Town, their borders meeting on Bruce Street in the very centre of the city. The two sects divide the domain neatly in two. The native Anarchs, consolidated in the industrial north, have learned to tolerate Prince Aveline and her Camarilla invaders, and she in turn grants all Anarchs the right to hunt and conduct business in her waterfront domain. Anarch rabble-rousers and Camarilla traditionalists each afford their counterparts a reluctant respect. Until now. Word from Melbourne has reached the kindred of G-Town. Prince Squizzy wages a war on 3 fronts against a newly reorganised Anarch faction, Sabbat infiltrators, and the onslaught of the Second Inquisition. As refugees from both sects flood into Gateway to escape the oncoming chaos, local tensions flare, and the truce that has maintained peace since 1983 will be pushed to its limits. Welcome to Lords of G-Town, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat Podcast, with music by Kevin MacLeod, White Bat Audio, Ivan Duch, and Jaxius Music. Now, as the sun sets on the city and the blood stirs, let's see what horrors the kindred face this night. Welcome back, everyone, to Lords of G-Town. I am, as ever, your storyteller, and I'm here to guide you through the next layer of this mystery, begetting the fear. The disappearance of Nadine Brandt's ghoul, Carl Pryor. The time limit doesn't seem to be a factor this time. You're not racing to clear your names and stave off the blood hunt. Rather, you're trying to locate a very valuable Camarilla asset before somebody who should not have it misappropriates it for their own use. Nadine Brandt informed you that her sire, Gabriel, the Malkavian Primogen, had ordered her to conduct research into possibly reversing the effects of domination. And this is the top secret work that Carl Cryer, once a very celebrated stage hypnotist going by Herr Cryer, would have some unique expertise in. When we last left off, Mitch, Val, and Bouncer had been stepping out through the back door of Nadine's VHS rental store, Retro Rewind. As they stepped out, they found themselves accosted by street thugs. Street thugs who seemed to suspiciously be in just the right place, just the right time, to serve as an almost insurmountable obstacle that the coterie had to face. Mitch, Val, and Bouncer managed to put them down, scare them off, incapacitate them, although Val took a very nasty knife wound to her chest, slashing her exquisite jacket open and knocking her into aggravated damage. And you've barely had time to administer to Val's wound before a taunting voice rang out from above. Interesting. Interesting way of handling things. I'm intrigued. And you looked up, following the voice, to find, standing on the rooftop of the adjoining laundromat, peering down at you, Lucas, the Ventru sheriff of the Camarilla.
Ventru?
Bodybuilder's physique bulging under his immaculately cut and tailored business suit. An expensive-looking cigar dangling out of his mouth in between his curled lips. As he folds his arms, rests his hands on his waist, and bares his teeth. Huh. Forgive me the little test. Had those goons set up to test you. Told them the bloke they was looking for could be found right there in the alleyway. He gestures towards the man in the grey business suit, cowering at your feet, still whimpering from the beating he took from the gang members. Had a feeling Nadine'd be calling in someone to do her busy work for her. Figured she'd be smart enough to send him out through the back so that her sire's goons wouldn't notice. And I thought, whoever they are, I should see if they're really up to the task. And, well, Harpy's lack of competence in the thick of combat notwithstanding, he snarls in Val's direction, you handled yourselves pretty well, I would say. Definitely not random licks she's hired off the street. But then and again, you are Sam's envoys, are you not?
Val kind of clutches her stomach, trying to keep some of the blood from pouring out, and just scoffs. Go catch a sunrise, Lucas. Fuck.
Lucas smiles, laughing at this. He says, I know you could handle yourself if this were caught. Nobody would dare face off against Valerie's silver tongue and sharp wit, but you're doing Sam Stokes's busy work. You're helping Nadine Brandt with whatever she's cooking up. You're gonna need more than wit. You're gonna need to get your hands dirty. And so, I decided to see if you were capable of even the simplest of trials by fire. And I'd say you performed adequately. But there's a question that still lingers in the back of my mind. He takes a drag from his cigar, blowing a plume of smoke out into the night sky. And then he bends his legs and with a grunt, jumps off the side of the building, falling at normal speed, strangely, not using celerity or indeed any form of discipline to supernaturally break his fall. And yet he lands in front of you, somehow on his feet. letting out the smallest grunt to indicate any discomfort he may have felt. Discomfort that clearly doesn't impede him as he stands up, rising from his crouching position, cracks his knuckles, and regains his composure within seconds. He walks past you, standing over the whimpering mess in the grey suit. His right arm lashes out, grabbing him by the collar, pulling him up. His eyes burn red as he stares into the man's face. And he barks an order. Forget. The businessman's eyes glaze over. He opens his mouth to stammer something, and then the pain and exhaustion take over. His eyes roll back into their sockets, and he sinks into a dead faint. Now, says Lucas, cracking his knuckles and folding his arms as he leans against the brick wall, taking another drag of his cigar, blowing a cloud of smoke into your faces. Here's what I want to know. Word around the court is Nadine Brandt is in the shit. Thinking of going the same way Elliot Dawkins did. You know, child of the Ventru Primogen. Board of directors over at Pentex. Defecting to the Anarchs. Well, I'm the sheriff, aren't I? And it is my job to ensure that there's enough of that. No more. So what exactly has Sam Stokes, our respectable consul, put her envoys to work for Nadine Brandt for?
Look, while I appreciate the hyper-masculine power play that you're going for here, why exactly are you so involved in this to the point that you sent people after us to battle test us? Clearly you know more about this than I do if you're expecting a lot of combat in the situation.
Mitch, go ahead and make for me a manipulation, persuasion, or insight check.
Better go ahead. Three successes.
3 successes. I will make a note of those, but it won't come into play yet. Instead, Lucas lets you talk, and then he just smiles, once again baring his fangs. He takes one last drag of his cigar, and then, holding it aloft, he flicks his finger, sending the cigar flying across the alleyway. It hits the brick wall right behind you, Mitch, bounces off and rolls down, landing on the floor. The flame flickers one last time and dies. Laughs the Ventru, and I would like everybody present to go ahead and make a composure plus intelligence roll for me as he activates his ore.
Wow, that's unfortunate. One.
1.
1 from 5. It's gonna be one of those days, I think. 1 from 5.
Val, you're very hurt. There's blood still gushing out. If your jacket wasn't always red, it would be red now.
Speaking of which, she spent 3 hunger Sorry, no, 2 hunger, and recovered
heal up.
three of the points of superficial. So
Yeah,
the
but
bleeding is stopped. There's still a big gash, and the suit
yeah,
is still ruined, which
but
is
now her
don't keep blaming in mind.
face is extra pale and her eyes are turning red and bestial as the hunger starts to well up inside her and her beast begins to growl. Enough of this, enough of the talking. We're losing blood. You need to find somebody. You need to drink them. You need to tear them apart. And you need to correct this indignity.
How exactly does rerolling work again? I feel like we need
So,
someone who passed this check.
so you mark on a superficial point of willpower damage, and then you re-roll up to 3 dice that are not hunger dice.
Actually, I'm gonna do the same thing. I think this has got such a bad idea.
That's a 3
Oh
on
no,
my
that
end.
brings me up to 3,
3 for Bouncer.
Probably not
and
enough.
3 from Val now.
I'm still at 2.
2? He rolls a 4.
Yep.
Nearly. Now that he's no longer smoking the cigar, and now that the plumes of black smoke around his face have started to dissipate, the moonlight above shines down and accentuates his beauty. His body is a work of art. The peak male form. If this were ancient Greece, artists would sculpt statues of marble in Lucas's honor. Now, I know who you are. Val, Mitchell, see you around court. But you! His gaze lingers on Bouncer. I ain't seen you at Elysium. Now look, I know you're one of Sam Stokes's envoys, but the fact that I don't know you means you're an anarch. And, well, the whole reason I'm here is because I'm trying to stop Nadine from going over to the other side. So, out with it, girlie. What's your stake in all this? Don't hold anything back, he says, smiling and winking in a playful manner.
What? Such strong deductive skills. I can see why they made you the sheriff. Yes, I'm
And
an
a
anarch,
sharp
but
wit.
yes, I'm an anarch, but I'm here on Sam's behalf as a neutral party.
We know the consul claims to be a neutral party, and sure, her title is granted and endorsed by the prince, but weren't you lot recently involved with patching up a dispute among the anarchs? Neutral party, and yet by ensuring that Dinesh stepped in as the new warlord of the waterfront, you threw a wrench into the prince's plans for that part of the city.
I think you're reading more into this than you should be. Nobody here was vouching for Dinesh. We mostly just stood on the sidelines and watched it happen. We're fighting for our lives.
Val, I'd like you to go ahead, along with Bouncer, and make a charisma, leadership, or persuasion, and you get 1 penalty die due to the fact that his awe is currently active and is affecting you.
It's a success of 2.
2?
Yeah, it's a 2 as well from me.
2? Yes, a 2 for both of you. Look, I'm sure your intentions were good. I'm sure when Sam claims that she did it to maintain order, keep the peace between the sects, well, that's maybe that is what she had you believe, but look, there's no such thing in this city as a neutral party. How long you been dead? 10, 20 years? I've been walking this city since 1957, and there ain't no such thing as a vampire who's not looking out for themselves, looking to climb the ranks, looking to engineer things in just such a way that they have the upper hand. So, once again, what interest does Sam Stokes have in the child of the Malkavian Primogen?
Look, if you really want that information, why don't you go ask her yourself? Look, anything we say could implicate her in something that you don't fully understand. Something that isn't fully understood by yourself and by whoever you're going to be relaying this information onto. It can endanger a lot of people until it's diffused.
He shrugs. I would ask her myself, if I were allowed to.
Oh, but you're allowed to go bother us, are you?
Indeed. Gabriel's orders nobody's to be speaking to his child without his permission. Don't want any anarch agitators trying to lure her over the edge. Not after what happened with Dawkins. But the prince, let's say the prince, isn't exactly ready to trust her Primogen to handle this on their own. After all, my dear Primogen, Alyssa, she was unable to stop her child from turning over to the Anarchs and taking all of the income and infrastructure provided by Pentex with him. So, look, I'll be open with you. I want to make sure that whatever's going on with Nadine, we're not about to see another defection. I want to know what her connection is to Elliot Dawkins. I want to know who the Anarchs are who've lured them to the other side. And I'm under orders from Prince Aveline to find out what their interests are with Pentex. See, before the defection, Pentex was one of the more valuable assets that my clan commanded. When Prince Aveline showed up in this city 40-odd years ago, had her little spat with the Anarchs, and made the deal that divided G-Town into two, an arrangement was made with Baron Archibald that the Pentex refinery was to be a Camarilla asset, despite it existing within Anarch territory. And it's thanks to Pentex that we've been able to keep a strong hold on the economics of the city. Without Pentex, my clan are scrambling to make ends meet. Surely you can understand why I would be, at least a little bit suspicious of anybody having contact with someone like Nadine, who's skating on thin ice as it is.
Look, to be honest, you've
Mhm.
appeared out of nowhere. You've started pontificating and monologuing about God knows what, and you've been expelling information left, right, and center. You just told us that the prince doesn't trust her primogen. How on how on earth do you expect us to trust you with this information when people's lives are on the line? For all we know, you just spill it like 5 seconds after we stop associating with you.
He shrugs. No proof you got it from me. You're a harpy. You know better than anyone. You start spreading rumors about the prince and her primogen. The prince is going to crush that rumor as soon as it springs up.
Unless she finds
Sorry.
out it sprung up from you. Like, this is
Also,
unbelievable.
Aren't you spreading rumors about Nadine and her allegedly trying to defect to the Anarchs?
No rumors there, he says. Everyone knows she's got friends among the Anarchs. She's breached the Masquerade so many times it's easy to lose count of. And she and Elliot Dawkins, they're old friends, aren't they? Only a matter of time before he reaches out to her, and I am going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Look, you can have plenty of fun with that situation. What we're dealing with is honestly barely related as far as we know. We're just trying to help with a situation in which Nadine's school, something has happened, and we're trying to clean up a loose end that could make things much worse.
As you say this, he oozes with satisfaction as his face is instantly consumed in a smug, shit-eating grin. So her ghoul's missing. Her ghoul, who was a valued asset of her sire's, has gone AWOL. And she's had to call in outsiders to look for him, right?
Not exactly.
Yeah,
Now
he just
who's the-
shrugs.
now who's
You
the
can
one
draw
spreading
whatever
rumors?
conclusions.
That's all I wanted to know, he says. Well, best of luck with your investigation. I do hope you find this ghoul before he falls into the wrong hands. He shrugs as he steps away from the wall. Perhaps I can throw you a bone. The knowledge of her ghoul being missing, maybe her sire's aware of it, but he was keeping it secret from the rest of the court. And Prince Aveline will be oh so interested to know that such a valuable asset is unaccounted for. Especially...
You're playing with fire, Lucas. You don't understand what's happening.
Well, maybe if you can find him and bring him in, we can clear all this up. For the good of everyone.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. What's with the threats?
No
You're
threats.
unbelievable.
No threats, says Lucas. I'm just covering my bases.
Oh, I know a threat when I hear one.
Prince ordered me to dig up dirt on Nadine, and now I've got it. Her ghoul, who was entrusted to her by her sire, who has valuable knowledge of the cam's inner workings, is missing. And Nadine doesn't know where he is and is scrambling for someone, anyone, to help her. Au revoir, he says. I'll leave you to it. Let's hope this turns out well for all involved. I have a feeling we'll be seeing each other again before this is through, so, don't be forgetting about me, you hear?
Did you take, like, douchebag acting classes or something? What even is this?
Yeah, he's not wrong. I swear I run into like 6 men like you every night at the club. It's quite impressive.
I won't argue with that. See, back around the time when I was embraced, there was this saying. The mortals had invented this term, dumb jock. And I thought, hey, what the hell? Everybody underestimates the dumb jock, right? Nobody thinks the dumb jock's smart enough to know what the hell's going on.
I still don't think that.
You just focus on your investigation, he says.
Gladly.
We'll see each other again before this is out. I know it. And maybe then we'll be able to make a deal. Make sure that Nadine, Gabriel, and the prince all get what they want out of this whole thing. He steps away into the alley, brushing past you, nearly pushing Bouncer out of the way with his right arm, nearly sinking his elbow into her rib.
Just asking for a frenzy check.
Yeah, Val normally reserves her smokes for a job well done, but she's already got one in her mouth and sparking it up as she strides out towards the curb.
I'd like a bouncer.
Not entirely.
I'd like a bouncer to make a resolve plus composure roll for me, please. You've just been accosted by gang members. This guy comes out of nowhere. He's insulting you, he's manhandling you, and he's acting like he's a big mastermind when he clearly has no idea what he's talking about.
Resolve composure, you said, yeah?
Yep.
Three successes.
3 successes, yeah. You're angry, and you grit your teeth as your beast hisses, and you feel the momentary compulsion to just reach out, grab his arm, and tear it out of its socket. You feel your fingers twitching, but you compose yourself. Lucas smiles, looking over his shoulder. Huh. I'd heard you anarchs flew off the handle at the slightest provocation. Guess you got more moral fiber than that. Well, you'll need that discipline. Catches! And then he steps into the shadows, rounding the corner of the nearby building. You hear his boots crunching on the asphalt for a few more seconds before they fade into the distance.
Just kind of mumbling through her cigarette, Val muses, "Holy shit, that is the most toreador venture I've ever met."
Looks like you're done here, though. And it occurs to you that Cross and Tig should be just about done with checking Carl's residence for clues. And so, as if on cue, you feel your phone vibrating, Val. Your phone, or your ribs, or your internal organs? No, definitely your phone. You fish it out of the tattered remains of your jacket's inner pocket and see a message from Cross. It just says, "Done here, let's meet."
Yeah, Val shoots a text back, just to, indicating a nearby cafe or something that'll be open this time of night. Just some unnoticeable standard place that they can just get together and chat about everything.
Indeed. There's many cafes in this part of town, Southern Gateway. It's the leafy, sleepy, middle-class suburb of Gateway. It's where the Greens voters and the local artists and the uni students hang out, and trendy bars and cafes that are open at this time of night are a dime a dozen. So, you pick a nice looking place just off Dunedin Road. The sign has a relatively quaint name emblazoned on it in an unremarkable font. It's simply called The Spot. You head inside into what appears to have once been an ordinary suburban townhouse that's been retrofitted to its current state. A dimly lit, trendy cafe with polished floorboards, warm red brick walls, and a widescreen TV in the background that is there purely just to provide ambience, the volume being on the lowest setting possible. There are a couple of uni students and socialites milling about, but for the most part, the establishment is quiet. Good enough for your needs. You're all assembled around a table at the very back of the cafe, well out of the earshot of any of the regulars. The only eyes on you come from the youngish, blonde-haired girl behind the counter near the entrance, as she occasionally looks up to make sure that you're enjoying the coffees and slices of cake that Val graciously ordered for you. So that you don't attract attention, I would like everyone present to make a blush of life. Except for Bouncer, of course.
And Mitch, he has eat food.
Ah, yes, and Mitch as well.
Ah, God, Val's up to hunger 4. She's gonna be feed soon.
Tig's having a good bloodline. He stays at hunger too.
Mitch is having his 10 shots of espresso coffee and he's feeling great right now.
Yeah, Val's just kind of like holding onto the menu, trying to like shield her face as it like vibrates in her hands.
The woman behind the counter watches as you all take a sip from your coffee cups. Val peers over the menu and, struggling to maintain her composure, flashes a thumbs up. The woman nods and returns to her busy work washing dishes in the sink, her back to you. You quickly catch each other up on what you've discovered, and after you've filled each other in, there seem to be 2 main leads that you should follow up on. The first, of course, and the most promising, is Walter Bergman, the name that was on the business card found in the abandoned house opposite Carl Cryer's residence. Cross and Tig are both of the opinion that Walter Bergman was the one who entered Cryer's house and is the most likely candidate to have performed the abduction. There was no phone number on the business card, and the phone number that Bergman had been using to blackmail Cryer, at least according to Cross, would not lead to any useful intel, being spoof. But the business card does state that he's an employee of Pentex, a project manager specifically. There's something that you can use to pick up a trail. The other lead, of course, is what Val, Mitch, and Bouncer managed to squirrel out of Nadine herself. That in her most recent close call with the Masquerade, a couple weeks ago, she found herself feeding from a retainer belonging to an anarch toreador by the name of Laney. She had tried to contact Laney to apologise for this transgression and offer reparations, but had been unable to get a hold of her. The anarchs that she regularly meets with would not dare betray the location of one of their own to someone who still, even now, is seen to be part of the cam. And of course, as Mitch reaches into his jacket, Yu-Gi-Oh style, he raises the smartphone that he stole from the back room of Retro Rewind, the one that Nadine had specifically ordered one of her retainers to destroy, and slams it down on the table. As it clatters onto the wooden table...
The tap-to-pay kiosk is up there.
As it clatters onto the table, the screen lights up. And on the screen is a video ready to play. Keen.
Tig stares blankly at it.
Alright, Val's going to take initiative then, and kind of turn it on its side so it's landscape, and the screen takes a second to respond, and then rotates so it fills up the entire landscape viewport, and taps play, keeping the volume down a little bit just in case.
As she taps play, a little message box pops up on the screen. Ha ha! You're in my phone, and you totally shouldn't be. Enter the password or do some Matrix shit.
What the fuck is this? Yeah, what is this? I'm actually confused.
Seems that the video is encrypted, or at least password protected.
Mitch
Nadine
slides
had the
phone.
foresight to at least slap a password on it. Maybe she planned to keep this video for leverage or something like that, until you guys showed up and she decided clearly the safer thing was to just dispose of it entirely.
Mitch is gonna slide the phone over to Cross and is like, you know technology things. I don't know anything about this.
Download the dial-up, quick.
Cross has 3 dots in technology. What would it be getting
Download
from
more
this?
RAM or something.
3 dots in technology would tell you that you probably can't hack it, but you have enough savvy that you could probably follow the hints and reset the password.
So it's
yourself.
it's a password input though, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, sorry, can you just describe to me exactly what this UI is telling me?
So, with your 3 dots in technology, you can tell that this is pretty much a stock standard iOS prompt. It would normally say that the file's password protected and ask for a security key. But Nadine has done something. She's changed the text of the prompt, specifically to mock whoever's trying to get into the phone. But the prompt itself, the functionality appears to be the same. It's a 4-digit security key.
Okay. The way you set that up, I was expecting like some hackers shit.
No,
Okay.
that is far beyond Nadine's ability. But, you know, she wanted to throw a movie reference in there, so she's had somebody change the text
Okay.
of the of the UI prompt.
That's totally fine. Okay. Cross just grunts and is like, you don't need to hack this shit. That we can probably just figure out her passcode.
Do you mean we as the collective we, or we as in you, the one who can do this kind of thing?
You look. Actually, really, I expect you to be good at this kind of thing. God, fucking.
I'll just go get more donuts, shall I?
Yeah, Tig gets up, and you see him huddled over the counter, ordering donuts as he engages the woman at the counter in conversation. Donuts! She says. Donuts? Huh.
Yeah.
Coffee and cakes, what we do here. Nobody's ordered donuts in. Well, I have them, but you'll have to wait.
All right. Sounds good. Why you mean coffee and donut? Nobody's ordering coffee and donuts anymore. Are all the police in the city dead suddenly? There's a fine tradition going.
Hey, cab, mate, says the girl. Wouldn't have any cops here.
Hey, back at you. Yeah, white whale sucked.
So, Cross, while you're reading the prompt, you do take the chance to look around her phone, and most of it is unremarkable. She doesn't seem to use it all that much, which makes sense. The cam, from what you understand, has rules, strict rules on communicating with other vampires over the phone. So Nadine mainly uses this phone to receive calls and to record herself. Most of the calls she's received are from generic local numbers. You could probably look them up, but you suspect they wouldn't come back as being particularly exciting. You do notice, however, that her wallpaper for her home screen is unmistakably a picture of a hockey mask wearing, machete wielding villain from one of those old 80s slasher movies. One that Cross
knows who Jason Voorhees is.
Yeah, it's Jason. It's very obviously Jason Voorhees.
No, it's not that out of touch.
Oh, it's probably 1981. That's when Friday the 13th 2 came out.
What?
He doesn't wear the hockey mask in 1.
Shit. Alright, let's try it.
Cross types it in. Yeah, how does Mitch know that?
Mitch had a phase in college where all he watched was horror movies.
Yeah, we all go through it. As Tig returns carrying a plate of cinnamon donuts that honestly look like they've been pulled out of a freezer and stuck in a microwave for 60 seconds.
She
You
didn't
can't-
even know about the metaphor between Queequeg and Ishmael. They call themselves fucking Starbucks.
Val
can't
has to check the menu. Val has to check the menu, like, uncertain as to whether they are actually in a Starbucks, and they're definitely not.
You can't tell if that's frosting on the top of the donuts or just bits of freezer ice.
Oh, nobody buys donuts and then tells me cops are bad. I'm like, well, of course you're not buying your donuts. You're telling them they're arseholes. Maybe don't tell them they're arseholes, they'll buy your donuts. Common fucking sense.
Cross rolls its eyes and it types the passcode in 1981. The dialogue disappears and a sound emanates from the phone. And the video begins to play.
Oh, you're kidding me.
It's dark. It's hard to make out exactly what the video is depicting. For all her love of movies, Nadine is not much of a filmmaker. The camera is shaking. The people that are depicted in it are nothing more than jumbles of vaguely human-shaped pixels, and it appears she's filming in near total darkness. So I would like whoever's trying to pass it to make me a wits investigate check.
Collectively, I guess, yeah.
I think we can all assume that that's Cross doing that.
It is. It's that, but also you're welcome to help. I mean...
Well, the thing is, you'll all get the sound. You'll all get the sound, but it's going to take a concerted effort to try and see what the visuals are.
Alright.
Cross is good at picking out patterns, so Cross might be able to determine, who that person is and who that person is and where it's being filmed. The rest of you will just see this as jumbled pixels, but you'll all hear the content of the video.
Okay, I'm gonna just. I got 3 successes. I'm gonna reroll it just to be sure.
You said what's
Sure.
awareness, right?
Wits investigate.
4.
Investigate.
Just a single one for Tig. He hasn't seen this one.
Nah, hasn't seen this movie.
4 successes for me.
Oh, I don't remember Friday the 13th having this in it.
Total
Yeah, that's
failure.
only 2 from Val.
This must be one of them
Oh.
Chinese bootlegs or something.
So
Yeah,
Mitch,
always
like this.
Mitch and Cross are on it. They're leaning over the phone, gazing intently, while the rest of you just sort of scratch your heads, give up on trying to discern what's on the screen, and instead lean back, listening to the audio. The sounds of near sexual ecstasy emanate from the phone. Contented moaning, a female voice saying, yeah. Sounds like Nadine. How many girls get to ride in the back of the Uber with the lead singer, Not many, comes a male voice, but you, something about you, whoa, easy there, Tiger. Let's just, come, hold me. Cross, Mitch, you appear to be staring at a man with long blonde hair and a leather vest. There's a band logo emblazoned on the chest, but you can't quite make out what it is. It seems to be shot from Nadine's view. You recognize her tattooed arms hanging from his neck, the camera's moving closer to his face and then pulling out and then brushing the front of his chest. They appear to be in the back of an Uber as it travels through a tunnel. Only lit for brief moments at a time as the lights outside in the tunnel zoom past. The moans continue for about another 5 minutes, and it's very obvious you're listening to the sounds of Nadine feeding. Then all of a sudden, the moaning abruptly stops and Nadine's voice shouts, "Ow! What the Hey! What'd you do that for?" You liked it, didn't you, love? No, I did not like it! What the fuck? Put that away! Left turn here, please. That's it, I'm done with you. On the screen, Cross and Mitch see the blonde-haired man suddenly produce an empty hypodermic syringe from the folds of his leather vest. As he croons to Nadine and she leans in to feed, he pokes the syringe into her neck, prompting her protestations, her gasps of pain and shock. And when she pushes him away, he wrenches the syringe out. It's now filled with blood. She turns away from him at this point, directing the driver to drop her off at the next corner. And when the camera returns to the man, the syringe is gone. And he's just sitting, leaning against the seat, peering out the window. The video ends. Yeah, would that be Val's reaction? Why was Nadine taping this?
No, that was more my question.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in that such situation and like holding up the camera like a selfie cam.
Yeah.
It's so weird. No, Val will be continuing to look over the menu, just making sure she hasn't like gotten the attention of the waitress or anything from playing this in a not Starbucks.
As the video closes, you notice its file name on screen, French.avi. So, any thoughts on what you've just seen? You suddenly understand why Nadine wanted to dispose of this. Weirdness aside, it shows her very openly feeding, revealing her vampiric nature to someone who, for all intents and purposes, she believed to be immortal at the time.
Wait,
Cross is
so
looking even paler than normal and is quite quiet.
So her last quote-unquote near miss was in the back of an Ubu, right? That's what she said?
That's what she said, and it appears that's what's depicted in the video.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but
that's
she neglected to say anything
Thingo's
about her blood being
retainer.
taken.
Yeah. The way she told it, it was just an accidental feeding on somebody who may have belonged to another vampire. She did not mention anything about him pulling out a syringe and extracting her blood.
Or that it was fairly obviously not an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. It was obviously not an accident. She knew what she was doing.
Well, I guess we should find out why Lacey's ghoul wants other vampires' blood.
Suddenly, Lainey seems like a promising lead as well.
Yeah.
But how to find her? That's the question. Her
Yeah, at this
anarch
point-
friends wouldn't sell her out to anyone belonging to the camp.
Yeah, at this point, Val is doing mental arithmetic as to whether they're getting into something they really shouldn't be. Like they just defended Nadine in the alleyway with Lucas, and have been really embroiled in this narrative that she's, she makes mistakes and she tries to clean up after them, but she's just really sloppy. But it seems like this is really bad news.
Is Val vocalizing any of this?
Yeah, she'll be muttering, kind of like a running train of thought.
Any insight would tell you that Cross is deeply uncomfortable with having just watched that.
I mean, most people would be.
No,
Yeah.
deeply uncomfortable.
Deeply uncomfortable.
Tig's still wondering where Jason was, and normally he kills the horny teenagers before they get to that point. All right, look, as Val said, as Tig actually screws up his brow and thinks mightily, and says, "Well, Sam told us that she was giving us this to us to do what we want with, and our necks are not on the line for any part of this. So I guess the better question is, what do you want to happen here? You want to get something out of this, or you want Nadine to stop doing something? I mean, the trimmer lady who showed up said that she'd give us extra blood if Nadine's ghoul ended up with her. So, I mean, that's at least one thing we could get out of this. Yeah, you remember Cross, the lady who ran the blood bank. She said that she liked hair. What's his name? Carl. Where's Carl? Yeah, she said that she liked Carl, but she didn't like Nadine so much because she and Osaya was making him do bad things. Things that was hard on Carl, so she'd be happy to take Carl off her hands. So I mean, it's less of we're getting deep and more like we're trying to find ways to get something out of this situation, yeah? Or make it end in a way that's good for us, yeah?
I'm not so sure there is a way for this to end up good for us.
Cross just doesn't respond to this, by the way.
Yeah. Cross is just staring past all of you into the cafe, watching the other patrons. They appear to be having a good night, and perhaps that's even more uncomfortable to Cross.
I mean, I understand it's going a little bad for you because your own sheriff, put a hole in you. What the fuck? Camarilla. But don't worry, you're us now, and I figure wherever you go, I'll be there next time, so I'll get it all put in me instead. So you don't have to.
I appreciate the sentiment, but we shouldn't be getting holes put in us anyway. Not for something routine like this. Look, we just saved our own lives and cleaned up a massive mess, and we're being thrown into something else where I'm getting ripped apart, and we're doing apparently dirty work for somebody, and it looks like we're going to be set up to be the fall guys for something at this rate.
Cross
I
don't like it at
visibly,
all.
Cross
don't like it.
visibly shudders as Val says the word dirty.
Look, in my mind, the only way that this can be cleaned up is going directly to the prince.
There is still the matter of the missing ghoul.
With what?
Yeah,
I
in
mean, we
Val's
got nothing
mind.
to go directly to the prince yet. And honestly, I mean, do we want it to turn out so that the prince gets it? I mean, I'm okay if you want it
Yes.
to. Okay, then
Yeah.
fine. This is something for the Camarilla. We done something for the Anarchs last time. This can be something for the Camarilla to make them happy and keep them busy or whatever. Alright, I don't give a fuck.
You do know, Val, that if you were to go to the prince and show her what you just saw, that would be enough for her to immediately call a blood hunt on Nadine.
Yeah, because
In Val's mind,
Sure,
that's
sure.
not the worst thing.
Yeah. In Val's mind, that's just
She's
routine.
Cam, through and through.
Yeah. But
it's more about this dometer-breaking experimentation going on with the ghoul that the prince seems to not know about.
the prince would probably reward Val if she was able to provide context in addition to just the evidence of a masquerade breach.
Yeah, seems to me like we need more dirt, and we aren't going to get that unless we dig deeper, yeah?
But unless they want to start asking Nadine questions. The Tremere are very good at that.
Well, I know a trimmer.
That and
Is she good at
Sure.
getting information? Look, I don't want to get my hands dirty with this. I really
She
don't.
actually was. She looked at the thing and did like something like what you do, only different. So I mean, that's pretty good. It's more than I got. But then Cross looked at the thing and he was like, "Oh my god, the spiritual shroud is all like, Ghostbusters or something. I don't know." So we might. It might be good for Cross if we found out what the fuck's going on with that. Because mate, I remember what you said. If you don't deal with Rafe business deals with you. Yeah.
This sort of brings Cross back to reality, and it says, there something was very angry there. That's all I know.
So I'm thinking that whichever way we go, or however we want us in the end, you need to follow up. Cross needs to be part of a group following up on that Pentex feller. And the other lead we got is this Singer fellow that we need to look into.
At the very
And-
least, find out why he jabbed Nadine with a syringe and took her blood.
Yeah, why does he want her blood? Oh my god, that could be used so many different ways, right? I mean, is he like making ghouls with it, or is he like, I don't know, make another vampire, make another kindred with it?
Val knows that it would be very likely that the prince would demand that you find this ghoul who is taking blood. Find out why he's doing it and make him stop, because it's a
Right.
continuous breach.
Tick push as a donut over to Cross. You're on Team Donut, which is after Black. You're on Team Coffee. He pushes over to Val, which is after the Singer, because, I mean, you know, it seems more your beat. And that leaves... shit, I only had one coffee, so I'm going to spare coffee. Yeah. I'll be there back in Valop just in case Sheriff Douchebag decides to let sick, like, I don't know, a rugby team on her or something. And that's a 2. Do we need another one, or do the rest of you fall to the donuts?
Valerie is just kind of blinking at this point, barely able to keep track of this game plan.
I guess that's the question. Where do we need 2, and where do we need 3, and where can we get away with 2? I'm thinking that Pentex fella needs 3, just because this is twice Pentex has come up, yeah, and we know there's... And they took the guy with force, so we know there's something. So Bouncer, you should probably be on Team Donuts. Because you are unstoppable force.
You do want to be careful with Elliot, at least.
Yeah. And that leaves Mitch. Mitch, you're smart as a whip, so I don't know. Yeah. Actually, you'd balance out things nicely. I mean, Cross is already pretty damn smart. But Mitch, you can actually, be smart in different directions. Yeah?
So there is something that Tig is not realizing here, and that is that perhaps sending 2 members of the cam to go and find an anarch and quiz her about her ghoul is probably going to make things more difficult.
Oh, yeah. It hasn't occurred to him. Somebody should point that out.
Yeah, this is why Val hasn't been really talking about a mechanism to achieve this end, because this is not going to work out well.
You don't even know how to find Lainey.
And for the time being, that's a good thing.
Anyone pointing out the whole Anarch thing?
I mean, Val has plenty of politics. She'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. All right, so why don't you take Mitch and me, Bouncer, and Cross will go over to talk with the Anarch lady about... Yeah. All right.
Look, honestly, I do think it's best if I talk to Elliot anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, it seems that Val and Mitch are going to go to Pentex and see if what they can find out about this Walter Bergman. Maybe pick up a trail. That seems to be the obvious way to pick up a trail. There's no phone number, there's no address or anything on his card. So heading to Pentex, seeing if you can get into his office, seeing if there's any info about him that can point you in the right direction is a good idea. But if you have any other solutions that you may be able to tap into, I would encourage you to bring them up.
And actually, Cross, you should probably go there. I mean, there was a weird ghost thing in Carl's house. If Pentex took him, maybe there's a weird ghost thing going on in Pentex. I don't fucking know.
Perhaps it's sort of still regaining. It's still tuning back into everything that's going on because it was absent for all this, and it just says, yeah.
And me and Bouncer go follow up on the ghoul.
Yeah, that leaves Bouncer and Tig to follow up the Laney lead. But how are you going to find her?
Well,
you do have Val. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, Val still has Ophelia as her goal at the moment, who'd be able to at least do some legwork to get them some avenue towards finding out where Laney is.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, Jeanette should be contactable in regards to getting a meeting at Pentex. Yeah. So instead of going the sneaky route and kind of poking around where we shouldn't be, why not go in through the front doors?
Do a feature on Pentex.
Yeah.
So you're going to use both of your once per story actions right now?
Yeah, Belle's going to whip out her phone and just kind of hold up a finger and just start hurriedly mashing at the keypad. She knows exactly what she needs to do and exactly how to do it.
shushing everyone else as she goes through her contacts list, go ahead and roll for me Ophelia's retainer rating. 2 dice.
That is a single success.
So, you sent a text message to Ophelia, short and sweet. Hi, Darl. Looking for Toreador by name of Elaney. Any idea where I can find her? And Ophelia responds within a minute. Her message pops up on the screen, and despite her looking like she's physically around the same age as Tig, she has a far superior grasp of technology. Her message is straight to the point. It says, Laney. Yeah, she does something at the community centre down Shoreside Park in Northtown. Gets bands to play there. Puts on live shows. You know, things like that. Feeds from the crowds that show up.
Yeah, Val will relay that onto the onto Team Donut.
Then, you make sure to shush everyone again. Putting your finger to your lips as you dial Jeanette's number. It rings once, twice, and then there's a click. Val! So nice to hear from you. I heard you've been making waves at court. Retainer with insider goss on the Anarchs.
You've got to be in it to win it.
And as you know, we win it all the time. What's up, Darl?
As a player, I can't help it, hold back a winning joke. Look, I know you might not have your fingers deep in the pie of Pentex, but is there an executive or somebody you can get me in contact with? We're trying to find a lead on Elliot Dawkins. If not the man himself, then at least somebody close to him.
Pentex. You hear her in the background rifling through sheets of paper. We've got someone here. Reached out about a month ago. They wanted to do a puff piece, something about that platform they want to put up in the bay. So we got a project manager. Let's see. Project manager. Damien Gallows.
Right, so is he just at the Pentex corporate office, or?
He's at the refinery. Look, I'll put a call through, tell them to expect you. You just turn up, say you're there to see Mr. Gallows for the puff piece, and that'll be your in. Hopefully you can find some goss about Mr. Dawkins while you're there. Hey, you'll have Mitch with you, won't you? He'll be able to do the sneaky thing, right?
I mean, I presume.
Alright, break a leg, darling. There's a click, and she hangs up.
Val shuffles the phone back into her pocket, aware that she's going to have to scratch Jeanette's back sometime soon in return. That's never fun.
So, your next moves are made clear. You drain the last of the coffee, and Tig looks down at the donuts that nobody's touched. Picks
All
a couple
at the end.
Picks one up, sticks it in his mouth, and drops the others into his bag to feed to the dogs. And then you rise from your seats and begin to make your way to the parking lot out front. Before you go to your investigations, I would like to ask how everyone is looking in terms of hunger, and whether anyone would like to hunt.
I am somehow still at 1.
Crest is at 3, but I think it'll use 2 of its bags to take it down to 1.
Yeah, drink them on the way.
And I think it might go and pick up some.
Pick up some on the way to the next place, yep. Mitch.
Bouncer, you mind if I catch a bite on the way?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Mitch and Val, how you looking for hunger? Wanna hunt?
Mitch is at 3, so I think he would want to hunt.
And Val?
Val is not in the mood, but is at hunger for,
Yeah.
and realizes that she might not be in the mood, but
So you might be a bit late to your meeting with Mr. Gallows. You may have less time to look around at Pentex if you go to hunt. Are you guys fine with that?
I mean, at this point, Val's just accepting that as part and parcel of this.
Yeah. You'll have Cross
Lucas-
with you and...
Lucas ruined her night.
Yeah, so she definitely needs to feed. Okay. So, Cross declares its intent to pick up some blood bags as it slides into the Uber with Val and Cross. With Val and Mitch, and as the Uber driver takes your directions... Pentex, huh? Fine. Don't head that way much. Guess it'll be good pay. And the car begins to drive through downtown Gateway. Cross pops open its briefcase and, hiding under the lid of the briefcase so that the driver can't see it, slices open 2 blood bags and leans back in the seat as it sucks them dry. Cross, I'd like you to go ahead and roll for me.
I got 2 on the roll. I had to use a
2
little
on
powder.
the roll.
Also, it uses a backpack.
Yeah,
it's not a little.
yeah.
It's not a little G.
Yep. So you're just like propping the backpack up on your lap, hiding your face from the driver's view as you take your juice box. You manage to get a hold of your contact, and with 2 successes, your contact tells you that he hasn't managed to procure any blood, but he's managed to misappropriate the spare key to the specimen storage room in the clinic. And he'll be leaving it under a plant pot in the parking lot. Up to you to sneak in yourself, though. What do you say, Cross?
Yeah, alright.
Alright. You tap the back of the driver's seat and tell him you're going to be making a short detour on the way to Marsupial up in the industrial north. If you could just pass through Port Shore, there's a strip mall that you want to pick something up from. Yeah, no problems, mate, he says. And about 15 minutes later, the Uber rolls up in the parking lot in front of the strip mall. There's a bank, a pet store, a laundromat, and an O'Tolly's. All of them closed except for the O'Tolly's. But then on the next block, just across the street from the strip mall, is Northern Health, a pathologist's clinic. You tell the others you won't be long, and you quickly cross the street. You see the plant pot that your contact indicated. It's the only one that actually contains a living plant. The others containing piles of mulch, rubbish, and cigarette butts. You lift up the ceramic pot and there's a plastic key card underneath. The lights are still on in the clinic, but according to the sign on the door, it's closed. Go ahead for me, Cross. I assume you'll be using your obfuscate.
As always.
Go ahead and make for me a wit plus stealth, and you may add your obfuscate.
I got a stealth bonus on infiltration.
You did, yes, you can add that.
Lovely.
For an extra dice.
1 success.
1 success, you want to willpower that?
Yeah, alright. Good thing I critical 6.
Critical 6.
Okay.
So, you make your way around the back of the clinic and find a staff entrance that still appears to be unlocked. You wait crouching in a bush for a few minutes until the door opens and a nurse dressed in green medical scrub steps out, cigarette in mouth. You quickly dash past him and through the door and start following the signs leading to the specimen storage. Aside from the nurse taking a smoke out the back, there's a security guard on duty. He rolls a 2. In his attempt to notice you, it's a very close near miss. At one point, you're left with one option, and that is to simply walk past him, wait for his back to be turned as he selects an option from a vending machine in the lobby, and run past. And it's your silence of death that is the only thing that gets you to the specimen room unseen. You swipe the card, and the magnetic door whooshes open, and inside are 5 fresh bags of blood, all dated with today's date, sitting on a shelf waiting for you.
Very nice.
You sweep them up into your backpack and leave the specimen room. On the way out, you're lucky. The security guard's got his can of Sunkist from the vending machine, and he's now retired to the security room. He should be watching the monitors, should see you on the CCTV, but he's too busy reading Sports Illustrated. You step out the back, dash past the nurse who's butting his cigarette, crushing it underfoot, and rejoin the others in the car. Alright, Mitch, go ahead and roll your predator type roll, which is, I believe, for a Sandman, Dex plus Stealth.
Three successes.
Sorry, how many?
3.
3, yeah. So, while Val stays in the car waiting for Cross to return, you step out, stretching as your feet crunch on the weed-infested asphalt. Beyond the strip mall and the pathology clinic, there's a row of townhouses. The lights are off in most of them, as the people have decided to settle down for the night. You pick the one that is furthest away from the parking lot and the main road, furthest away from any passing cars and any potential security cameras. And then you jump the gate into the backyard, make your way to the back door and carefully pick the lock. You pull the door open slowly, step through a quiet laundry and hear the sound of a TV talk show emanating from a nearby room. Do you wish to activate your unseen passage to increase your chances of getting a good feed?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, make a rouse check for me.
Failure.
You get hungrier, and you're at hunger 4, but you are about to feed. Hearing the sounds of a late-night talk show, you call upon your blood and fade away into nothingness. And I will add that as an extra success to your 3 successes, giving you 4 successes, which is just enough to beat the 3 successes of the person studying in one of the bedrooms upstairs, who, just as you exit the laundry and start making your way towards the source of the TV, decides to choose this moment to come downstairs and grab a late night snack from the fridge in the kitchen. You wait for them to pass, watch them return upstairs, and then press on, stepping into a living room. There's an overweight, grey-haired man sitting alone on a sofa in front of an unusually large TV. A late-night talk show is blown up to fill the 4K aspect ratio, reducing David Letterman's face to nothing more than a mass of blurry pixels. He says a joke that you don't find very funny, but the man on the couch immediately buckles over, guffawing at the top of his lungs. You stop and wait for a moment. Eventually, the man on the couch yawns, leans back, and as Letterman launches into another spiel, you hear the soft snoring coming from the man on the couch. You take your chance. You rush forwards, and before he has a chance to react, wrap your hands around his shoulders, baring your fangs, sinking them into his throat. He groans and squirms, half awake as you take his life force, and the sweetness rolls down your throat. You are, however, at hunger 4. So I will ask you to go ahead and make me a resolve plus composure check, and you may add a third of your humanity to this.
Okay. Wait, do you round up or down for a third?
Round down.
Okay, so... 5 successes.
5 successes. As you drink, you feel your heart beating as if it were alive as the beast urges you more, 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 more. Look at him, he's so big, he could easily spare more. You could take it all, and no one would know. And as your heart seems to beat stronger and faster, you feel his begin to beat slower or weaker, and with the greatest force of effort you've ever expended, you retract your fangs from his neck, licking the wound closed. The man groans and shifts in his sleep, but by the time he wakes up, scratching his head, wondering what that strange presence he felt was, you're long gone. You may reduce your hunger to 1. And finally, before we take our break, Val, go ahead and please roll your predator roll for me.
She did before.
Yeah.
Where is it? 3. Success of 3.
3. You wait until Mitch disappears across the road towards the houses, and then you lean back into the seat of the Uber and start scrolling the contacts on your phone. Who's it going to be tonight, Val?
She just wants this over and done with. She doesn't care today.
You pick
Just a random pick.
You pick one at random. This guy, you didn't even bother to take his name. He's simply listed in your phone as Glasses Guy number 5. But he knows you. He knows you. He responds to your text message almost immediately, thrilled that you happen to be in the area, up here in Port Shore, slumming it in the industrial suburbs. Well, he knows a pub where you can meet, and he'll be there in 5 minutes. You get the impression he's already there. But it suits you fine. You tell the Uber driver you'll be back and walk on foot to the pub. It's only 2 blocks away. There's a big TAB sign glowing neon in the night. And the whole front facade of the pub is emblazoned with sports bet and Tattersalls advertisements. It's not the kind of place where Val would ever be caught dead. But your beast doesn't care. Make your way into the pub. Brush off the unwanted advances of half-drunk bogans shouting at the footy, and find Glasses Guy at the very back, lazily pulling a lever on a slot machine over and over, his face devoid of any emotion, any life, but it lights up the moment it sees you. Suddenly the broader smile on his face. Valerie, you came! Look, let's, I hope you don't mind, but let's cut to the chase. I got us a room. He winks.
Yeah, I'm more or less just going to smooth over this one and just say that, yeah, they go do that, and she feeds from him.
Gutter feeder. Gutter feeder. He deserves to die, says your beast, as you follow him beyond the pokies area to the rooms that nobody would ever spend the night in. As he pulls open the door and sits down on the bed, and 3 cockroaches scatter for the shadowy corners of the room. You sigh, reach out your arms and lean in. You're out of your league. You're out of your league, Val, says your beast. He thinks he has a chance with you. He should be taught. Otherwise, you should take it all. What hunger are you at, Val? 3 or 4?
4.
4. So, Val, as you bare your fangs and lean in, you see the vein on his neck pulsing with his heartbeat ripe with blood. And I'd like you to go ahead and make me a resolve plus composure plus a third of your humanity check.
Critical 7.
Critical 7. You won't take it all. Not from him. If you were going to do such a thing, you'd pick someone with style. Someone with class. No. This is subsistence only. You pull away as soon as you've had your fill, leaving him on the bed, moaning in ecstasy, his eyes staring blankly into the cracked ceiling. And as you turn to walk away, I'd like you, Val, to make me a wits awareness check.
Success of 5.
Success of 5. You turn your back to him, brushing your hair out of your face, and begin to cross the room to the door. As you do, you catch a flicker of movement in the corner of your left eye. You whirl around, and then you see it. A handheld video camera pointed at the bed, wedged in between the TV and the video cabinet, hidden just out of sight.
That will be taking that.
As you reach over and fish the video camera out of the gap, the man is still sitting there on the bed. He's in a sitting position now, but his mouth's just sort of hanging open in a half-dazed stupor. And he doesn't even notice that you've extracted it, that you're holding it in your hands.
Yeah, she's deleting him from her phone for this.
delete him off your contacts list, and then as you make your way to the door, the camera still in hand, he waves at you. See you next time, Val.
She's already gone.
The door's shut by the time he finishes his sentence. And as you make your way back to the Uber, you flip open the camera, deleting the footage that's already been filmed. That's when you notice something that makes your heart sink. It's being uploaded to the cloud, and you recognize the username. Filibuster113. The username of your stalker. He's at it again.
Here at Pentex Corporation, we've always considered Gateway our one true home. Tranquil walks along Eastern Beach, beautiful views of the sunset over Cowie's Bay. So picture this, a drilling platform right in the heart of this scenic paradise. Who needs tranquility when you can have a towering monument of progress? At Pentex, we believe that progress means prosperity. Just like in the good old days, jobs to keep Gateway's economy strong, and power for the people. Pentex Corporation, your family comes first, and the planet a distant second. Authorized by Elliot Dawkins and Walter Bergman of Pentex Management Corporation.
Tig's ute rattles down a dirt truck on the way to Shoreside Park in Northtown, screaming down Hamlin Road. And Bouncer, you've been in Tig's truck several times, but nothing ever prepares you for the sheer assault to your senses that it is every time. As the decades-old vehicle shudders, feels like it's about to fall apart. Every pothole that Tig screams over feels like a punch to the gut, and each time the three dogs in the back howl and bark as if it's the most exciting thing ever. Tig doesn't seem to care though. His eyes firm on the road, hands wrapped around the steering wheel as Stairway to Heaven croons from the radio. Or you think it's Stairway to Heaven, it's hard to tell. It's mixed with bursts of static. The tape skips a beat every 30 seconds or so. Sometimes the singer gets stuck on the same syllable for like 10 seconds, requiring Tig to thump the radio with his fist. And Tig, you're hungry. Your beast reduced to nothing more than animalistic snarls. You rouse the blood, and you whisper to the night. Whisper to the seagulls, and the crows, the willy wagtails, and the wedge-tailed eagles to come and find you. Come and feed your hunger. And they do. More than you're prepared for. As the ute bounces over a crest in the dirt road and screams around a corner into the run-down, dilapidated northern suburbs that hug Cowie's Bay. You see a cloud ahead of you. At least, you think it's a cloud, until you hear the cloud calling back to you. Bouncer, what's your reaction as hundreds of local birds engulf Tig's ute, as this cloud, this living mass of blackness, descends from the sky and swallows you whole?
I guess it should be somewhat panicked. Just, Tig, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Holds up a finger. His mustaches wiggle.
And his mouth is already caked in blood as he gorges himself, grabbing handfuls of flesh and feathers out of the window, stuffing them in his mouth, spraying blood over the dashboard and the seat. The birds get louder, cawing ever more shrilly, their wings beating against the glass. It feels as if the car is shaking, as if it's rattling from the sheer weight of them. In the back, you hear the dogs growling, their teeth rending flesh, crunching bones, and then all of a sudden, it's over. The birds fall silent, and then they spread their wings and disperse. And
Tig spits out a mouthful of feathers.
Yep. Spits them out. Your beast is moaning contentedly, but you've gorged yourself, Tig. And as you spit the feathers out, you look towards Bouncer. And you're about to apologize for the mess, but you feel your teeth grind against each other, and all you can manage is the word mess as your compulsion activates for the next scene. You've regressed.
Shaking hands.
Yep.
He pulls out a tiny tube of breath spray, and in his blood cake dripping off the mustaches, rolling down his chest, he the breath spray into his bloody maw.
And yet the scent of raw blood that lingers in the truck's cabin is still overwhelming. For the next scene, you're going to suffer a 3 dice penalty to all rolls involving manipulation and intelligence. You're only able to speak one-word sentences as you've regressed into an animalistic, bestial state. And Bouncer's the one who has to cover for you. So, before long, Tig's ute pulls up in front of the rundown city park. Shoreside Park, right there on the edge of North Town. It's not much to look at. It's an empty block nestled between rows of run-down red brick suburban dwellings, ending in a sheer drop down into Cowie's Bay. As you approach the park, you find overgrown foliage spilling out from cracked concrete pathways, reclaiming their territory. The scent of damp earth mingles with the musty odour of decaying leaves, permeating the air. The towering trees, once meticulously manicured, now stand as sentinels of neglect, their branches swaying in the wind with an eerie crank. At the heart of the park lies an outdoor auditorium, a forlorn stage surrounded by rows of empty, weathered wooden benches. The structure, once a centre of joy and celebration, once home to dozens of live performances and uplifting stories, now stands as a testament to faded glory. The wooden planks creak underfoot as you step onto the patio surrounding the amphitheatre, echoing with the ghosts of applause from long-gone audiences. The weather-worn stage in the centre of the auditorium is adorned with cracked marble statues, their intricate details eroded by time and neglect. Broken spotlights hang from rusted frames, casting feeble beams of light into the darkness, as if desperately trying to revive the magic that once enchanted this space. The only thing that has any colour is a humongous life-size poster nailed to the faded red brick backdrop behind the stage, advertising a band called the Wailing Wraiths. They're live tomorrow from 7:30. In front of the stage, you see a group of people. Men and women, all of them dressed in tight-fitting jeans and leather vests. They wear collars inlaid with spikes, reminding you, Tig, of a dog collar. And it's clear by the emblems emblazoned on their leather attire that they are the Wailing Wraiths. Their sound equipment is gathered in front of the stage, most of it still confined to stacks of black plastic crates. And cigarette smoke hangs in the air as they loudly chat about tonight's sound test and tomorrow's set list. Bouncer, Tig, what would you like to do?
Would I have the presence of mind to mop the blood off before I get it?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
Most of it.
Most of it.
You're still rocking up with a couple feathers sticking out of your shirt, maybe a spot of blood here and there, but in the low ambient light of the amphitheatre, it's likely no one will notice.
Alright.
Just gonna approach him.
Suppose, yeah, they're the only ones around, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, you can't see anyone else. You can't see any sign of Laney at all.
Yeah.
As you step off the patio into the dim light cast from the spotlight above the stage, one of the band members, a man with a head so bald that you could see the light reflected from his skin with piercing deep blue eyes, looks up at you. He sneers. "Sound test's over. Not that we're playing for an audience tonight. Especially not anyone dressed like the likes of you." Folds his arms.
Is that just like directed at the both of us, or?
Directed at the both of yous.
Yeah.
Laney.
"Piss off, Grandpa!" shouts a woman with blonde hair. "We don't play jitterbug."
Asshole.
So it would seem.
"Look," says the cue ball-headed man. "It's middle of the night, we finished our sound test, we're packing up, having smoko, and then we're out of here. We ain't got time to entertain fans."
Well, that all sounds just fine, because we're actually here looking for someone, not here for the show. We're looking for Laney.
What, you're the type of people who normally walk around parks at midnight on your
Yes. Yeah.
The blonde-haired woman looks over at Tig's direction. There's a look on her face that you can't quite determine is entertained pity or discomfort. She leans over and whispers something in the cue ball-headed man's ear. He shrugs. Who'd you say you was looking for again?
Lainey.
Yeah. She'd be our manager. This is her park. She's the one who set us up with this gig. But no offense, you don't look like the type who'd have any sort of business with her like we do.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong in that. Our business with her is something of a different variety. And she just shoots him a wink.
Different? Different how? Your innuendo seems to be totally lost on him.
Yeah.
I think she's implying that Lainey sells drugs, says the woman with blonde hair. No, well, you're barking up the wrong tree, says Cue Ball. Look, I know what sort of shit you're into, but Lainey's a good girl, and we ain't gonna send you her way if you're looking to score. Not even sure where you'd get that idea.
No, not drugs. Never drugs. God.
Well, look, you're dressed like you just came from a night of clubbing, and him? He points at Tig. Is that blood on the front of your shirt, mate?
Tig flicks a feather off. Magpies.
Look, you're obviously junkies. You're obviously looking to score a hit, and I know Lainey used to be part of that crowd, and hell, maybe you think that anyone who likes to rock and roll knows where to get that shit from, but you're barking up the wrong tree. So, you best shut up about Lainey, turn around and head back the way you came, or maybe, just maybe, we might have to teach you a lesson. Here, here! Shouts the
Tig leans
blonde-haired
forward. Try!
woman. Tig, go ahead and roll me a strength plus intimidate check.
Yeah, he has had enough.
How tall's this guy?
We're gonna go ahead and boost strength just in case this fails. Okay.
He's about average height. He's about the same height as you, Bouncer. He's not a particularly huge guy. He more dresses the part.
I am only 2 successes, so I'm gonna willpower to re-roll that. Hey, 4 successes total.
Fuck! Shouts the woman with blonde hair. He's fucking off his face, Ed! The cue ball shrugs. He looks at Bouncer and he says, You best rein in your grandpa, lady, or we'll be calling the cops. He's clearly off his face. And quite frankly, we ain't about to let you see Lainey when that's the impression you're making on us. So you got one more chance. Either you tell us what business you have with her, or you turn and leave before we have to beat it into you. But you both realise this time that his words are less sure than before. His voice falters ever so slightly. His right eye constantly darting between Tig and you.
Alright, fine. We're here to check up on Lainey, because word's going around that she's gotten herself into some trouble. And
Yeah?
we may not seem it, but we're coming as friends.
I would like you to go ahead for me and make a charisma plus leadership or persuade. And I don't think you have awe, do you? You've only got daunt.
Yeah, only Daunt.
Yeah, which is not going to be useful unless you're trying to intimidate them like Tig did.
Hmm. I'm gonna reroll. I'm kind of starting to get low willpower. I'm just gonna have to stick with the 2 for now. 2 successes.
Stick with the 2. Friends, says Cue Ball. Look, we know just about all Elaine's friends. And she didn't mention you, let alone your grandpa here. As he says this, you see his hand slide under his leather vest. And you can just make out the shape of a switchblade being withdrawn from a holster underneath. Go on, get, he says, as he slowly withdraws it, slides the blade out. Laney told us if anyone weird came after her to send them packing. Now she's a good gal, and we'll do what we have to do. Unless you kindly fuck off right now.
No.
Yes, well, I'm sure you will, but unfortunately I've been told by someone much more powerful than you that I have to talk to her, so...
Would you like
I
to
can't leave just yet.
Would you like to flex your knuckles at these scum as you say that, Bouncer?
Yeah, it's just like... I'd really suggest you put that away.
I'll
Go
back
ahead.
her up,
Back her up.
if I may.
Go ahead, Bouncer. Make me a charisma, intimidate, add your presence if you're activating Daunt, and add an extra dice for Tig.
Ooh, 6 successes.
6 successes. Ooh. You've got Tig next to you, growling, frothing at the mouth like a rabid dog. You just crack your knuckles, fold your arms, and you say, well, I gotta talk to her. You're welcome to try and beat the lesson into us. And for a moment, it looks like they're about to. The 2 band members behind Cue Ball stand up, one of them flexing a chain, the other one holding a piece of brick in his left hand. The woman whips her hand to her belt, pulls out a switchblade of her own and flicks it up. Their eyes glimmering, the broken spotlight reflected in them, and then a female voice cuts through the tension. Put him away! Everyone turns, looks in the direction of the dilapidated stage, and emerging from the sound booth behind it is who could only be Laney. Tig and Bouncer, I'd like you to go ahead and make for me composure plus intelligence checks.
Four successes.
Yeah, I'm gonna rouse composure first. I feel like I'm gonna need it for this thing. Does it fail? I got up to 102. I'm willpowering that.
And what do you end up with?
Wow. 2 successes.
2 successes.
God damn.
2 successes to her 3 successes as she steps out onto the stage, her long leather boots echo throughout the auditorium. She's dressed like your stereotypical scene girl. Striped leggings, nearly knee-high Doc Martens, hair that is in a rainbow of different colours. And instantly, these tough badasses, the Wailing Raids, are looking at her with adoration. Cue Ball's mouth opens as he splutters out. I'm sorry, Lainey. I'm sorry. We just, like you said, you know, we didn't want to make you angry. We just, like you said, we was just looking out for you. Cool it, she says. Tig, you're not impressed. If this girl is some sort of pop star, you ain't seen the likes of her before. Looks like she's a living embodiment of bubblegum. Her presence is lost on you. She reaches the end of the stage, folds her arms, and peers down at Bouncer and Tig. I knew you were there. I wanted to see the boys heckle you for a bit. See what you were made of. No need to introduce yourselves. You're Bouncer, and you're Tig. You're Bunyip's child. Know all about you, and may I thank you for your service, keeping us safe from, you know, the lupines.
Appreciated. Masquerade, he says, pointing at the mortals.
Right. Wouldn't want the cam to crack it, would we? She turns towards the mortals. Go on, get! She says. They all nod as they wordlessly stand up, throw their cigarettes to the floor, crunch them underfoot, and disappear into the darkness. Had a feeling someone might come looking for me. Was hoping it would be you guys rather than the cam. So what's up?
Sorry, I'm just having a mind blank again on why we're talking to
Yeah,
talking to her again.
So you believe, according to Nadine, that Laney's ghoul is who Nadine fed
also-
from. Yeah.
Needles.
Needles. What about needles?
Nadine.
Look. Nadine Brandt. Yeah.
Yes, and her interaction with your ghoul. That's what we've come to ask about.
Yeah, heard she'd been asking around about me. Look, I know she hangs with some of us Toreador, the ones who are into horror movies, but she ain't my scene. Word on the street is that she's looking to cut herself loose from her sire, but until she does, she's too cam for me. Now she's got Sam Stokes and her envoys out looking for me, though. I figure something big must be going on, so go ahead, spill it.
Tig pulls out the ransom note that was at Carl's place and says, "Yours?"
She looks down at Tig, wrenches the note out of your hand, looks at it. Please, if I was gonna send a ransom note, I wouldn't just cut a bunch of letters out of a newspaper and paste them onto a bit of notebook. I would do it in a much more dramatic fashion. Come on.
Unrelated. Good. He
She hands it back to you.
Okay.
So, let me guess. Nadine Brandt's ghoul's gone missing, and she thinks I had something to do with it.
That is a possibility that's been brought up, yes.
No, I'll tell you that ain't my ransom note. She scoffs as she says it.
Believable. Tig nods.
Uh,
But
So
I
none
get
of
the impression there's more to the story, she says.
Yes.
Yes. But first, so you have no part in her ghoul's disappearance, not some revenge tactic for her feeding on one of yours.
She scoffs, brushing her hand in the air. As if I give a shit what Nadine does. Do you know how many ghouls I have? She says,
No.
Wailing Raids over there, they're up next. They're not ghouled yet. They're on the list. I've got, the Screaming Wheels. I've got Affordance. I've got Devil's Daughter. She begins to rattle off the names of local bands.
Regular. Top. Up. Of the pops.
Yeah, you might say so. As if I care that she fed from one of them. Like, I got so many, you'd be hard pressed to not, especially as she likes to feed from people who've been in movies, and, well, it turns out that Shane did have that bit part in, that movie where, you know, people blow each other up in cars in the desert or some shit.
Ghoul.
Uh,
Took. Back.
Say what?
Yes. Well, as we've been looking into it, it turns out that during her feeding, your ghoul took some of her blood. And now we're trying to figure out why.
She pauses for a moment, thinks, and then she shakes her head and she says, look, I'm gonna be straight with you. That's weird as fuck, and I got nothing to do with that.
Do I get the feeling that's the
Camarilla
truth, or?
To you,
knows.
Bouncer, it seems like she's telling the truth. Tig, it could go either way.
Camarilla learns soon. Trouble back here.
Tig, go ahead
Came.
for me. Yep.
Warning.
Warning. Each word punctuated by growls. Tig, make me a manipulation persuasion check with, of course, the penalty of 3 dice.
So that's one die.
1 die. You might get it, you might not.
Failure.
Failure. She folds her arms and she says, look, none of my ghouls are into any shit like that. If that's Nadine's thing, that's her thing. I ain't gonna kink shame, but you're barking up the wrong tree.
Footage.
Footage. Right.
Yes, I think what he's trying to portray is yes, the whole her feeding, him taking the blood was all recorded. So that getting into the wrong hands could come back to you if things go south.
Got the footage on hand?
I don't think we would,
Not.
would we? No.
Stupid.
Look. Seeing as how words like Camarilla and Masquerade are being thrown around, if I'm going to trust you with any info, I need to know that you're going to do right by me. I know you're Sam Stokes' envoys, but you're both also anarchs, okay? So I want your word that you're not going to sell me out to that fucking prince and her cronies, okay?
Tig looks to Bouncer.
Yeah, I wouldn't dream of it.
And any information I do have for you, what are you going to do with it? Not saying I got anything. But I give you something that implicates my ghoul or myself in something. What are you going to do with it? You're going to go straight back to Nadine, tell her, hey, this is who took your ghoul?
No, we're going to use it to get the ghoul back. That's all our current job is. It's not to expose anyone, just find her ghoul and get him back.
Bouncer, make me a charisma plus persuasion and add your anarch status.
I don't think that's saved over. It's just one, isn't it?
Just one, yep.
Three successes.
3 successes. Alright, I trust you both. You had the good sense to not send that bitch, Val, after me, and to come yourselves. Or that I hear you're working with a Hecata now, and from what I hear, guy's basically like a living corpse. Or has the personality of one. Look, I've seen the footage. I know what you're talking about. Because somehow it got off Nadine's phone and started floating in some of my circles. I've taken care of it, and it's gone now. But I can tell you I did speak with my ghoul about it. Shane, I mentioned before, he played the guy with one eye in the exploding car movie. So he tells me that ain't him in the footage. And here's the thing. I can tell you that he's telling the truth. Because the night in question, he was with me when we were vetting those fuckers over there. She points in the direction where the wailing raids wandered off.
Huh.
Just for our sake, do you have anything else that proves he was with you, or? Not that I'm saying I don't believe you, but just to cover everyone's tails.
She raises her finger in the air and she says, Alright then. Here. She reaches into the folds of her jacket, wrenches out a piece of paper, and hands it to you. You take it, and it's a timetable. A timetable of auditioning acts that Lainey was vetting, as she says, on the night in question. And at the time slot that matches the timestamp on the video, she was indeed listening to the Wailing Raid's audition. Now, you cannot verify this just from looking at this piece of paper, but according to the timetable, every audition was overseen by one of her retainers, and indeed, the one called Shane is listed as the person overseeing the Wailing Raids.
Innocent.
Yeah, and then is it a different retainer on the group before and then the group after them?
So Shane was there for the Wailing Raids, but then the next slot after that, he's gone. Someone else is up.
Yeah. No, just because I'm asking just in case, like, alright, so we can go and check with them, because if no doubt one of them would have seen him then, and then just to cross back the fact of, like, yeah, no, there's no way he could have been there and there at the same time.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
It is just a piece of paper, and the only people who would have seen him there are indeed the Wailing Grades, and they seem to be utterly enthralled by her presence at the moment. So they're probably going to back her up if you ask them, which means to you right now, Bouncer, she seems like she's telling the truth, because you're under the thrall of her presence. She seems genuine. Tig, you're aware that maybe things fall into place just a bit too neatly, but it does seem like she's telling the truth.
He's gonna insider anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not a big pool. One success. Yeah, I can't tell.
One success. She's looking down at Bouncer holding the timesheet. She pulls it out of Bouncer's hands, folds it up, sticks it back into her jacket and says, "See?"
Satisfied. Tig agrees. Looks to Bouncer.
Somebody stole his face. Wouldn't you agree? She says, gesturing towards Bouncer.
Looks to be the case, yes.
Here's how I see it. Everyone knows Nadine likes to feed from people who are in movies. Everyone knows that Shane did a bit part in that thing back in the 80s. And so anyone who wanted to get close to her, well, it would be a no-brainer to pose as him, right?
So it's potentially someone else who has a issue with her.
Maybe. But I'll tell you it ain't me, and you can go back to her and you can tell her that. I don't give a shit if she feeds from my ghouls. Hell, technically you could say she's kind of like blood bonded to me now.
Okay, well. I suppose I'm satisfied here with that you're not involved. That's now unfortunately opened more questions.
Well, if I can answer any of them, I'll try to. Go ahead.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't think there are any that you can answer unless you know of anyone else who has a problem with Nadine other than...
Let me percolate on it a bit, she says. Look, I don't know what the cam have heard, but all this talk about Nadine secretly being an anarch and wanting to defect at any moment, that's sort of all bullshit. Like, she meets with some Toreador once every few weeks, and they're shooting a movie together. Some sort of old 80s style slasher thing. And that's it. Like, there's no one in the cam who appreciates that stuff. So, she's going to the people who will, but she's got no reason to leave the cam. Her sire's the Primogen, from what I hear. Hell, she knows if she came over to the Anarchs, people like me would just res her endlessly, so... You know, smart thing would be to just stick with the devil you know, right?
Yeah, I never fully believed the whole she was going to defect thing, even if she is a bit loose with the Masquerade issues.
I mean, I know she's friends with that Dawkins guy, the one at Pentex, yeah. And let me tell you, look, I don't know if... I can't speak for all Anarchs, but as if we want, like, a suit like him in our fucking movement. Like, only reason he came over is not because he cares about the movement, but, you know, because he wants to put that platform out in the bay, and his sire wouldn't let him, so he's come over to us, and Baron Archibald's just gone, oh yeah, well the cam don't want it there, so you go ahead and put it there. Look, you go back to whoever's holding Sam's leash and tell him this conspiracy that they've got floating around that someone's coaxing all the Primogen away. Like, dude, like, guy just wants to put a platform in the bay and Baron Archibald's a contrarian, and he knows it'll piss the prince off, so he's just saying, yeah, go ahead and do it, right? There's no mastermind at work here.
Believable.
Hmm. That does sound like him.
Alright, look, I've got the
Depart.
I've got the gleaming glaciers due here for a sound test in like 10 minutes, so if there's nothing else... She begins to step away from the edge of the stage.
Nope.
Yeah. We appreciate your time, and we'll let you get back to your work.
Keep me in the loop. You find out something is going on with my ghoul, I want to be the first to know.
Alright, will do.
She waves as she steps away, her Doc Martens crunching on the warped wooden floorboards as she walks away, leaving the two of you alone in the outside amphitheater.
Sorry.
At this point, Tig,
Nah.
your beast sighs, and you feel your faculties returning. You feel that bestial urge fading away, washing off you like water.
Let's get back to the ute. But there's something I want to do along the way.
Oh.
And for the second time tonight, Tig is going to summon something like a ground squirrel or a rat, just one.
Go ahead, rouse the
something.
blood.
That's around here and easy to miss. Success. And he's going to command it to follow her and see who she talks to immediately after this.
As you step away from the stage, Tig makes an animal call, indecipherable, chittering in the darkness, and a little ring-tailed possum scurries across a tree branch, peers down at you, and nods as Tig gives it its unspoken orders. Its eyes gleam in the moonlight, and then it turns, runs back down the branch, following Lainey into the night.
Let's talk in the ute and wait for the little chitterer to get back, shall we?
Sure.
Join the... You retire to the ute, and you're sitting there in the cabin. And about 10 minutes later, the dogs in the back begin to bark something fierce.
Oi, settle down, silence.
You peer out the back, the rear view window, and see the ring-tailed possum standing there on the edge of the tailgate, uncertain of whether it's safe to proceed.
Tig stretches out an arm and puts the other finger directly on its forehead.
Possum chitters, rubbing its fur, bunting against your finger. And then it leaps off the tailgate and scurries away as the dogs continue barking until it falls out of earshot. An image flashes in your mind. Lainey returning to the sound booth. As she enters the sound booth, she turns to someone with a look of intense anger on her face. A man with long blonde hair sits in a plastic fold-out chair. He shrugs. He shouts, "I swear it wasn't me!" And then the possum ducks out of the window and returns from where it came.
She ain't sure. but the fella
Huh?
fella who's we thought was responsible is protesting his innocence. Yeah, let's get out of here. I think she ain't sure if she's on the level, but she's as on the level as she thinks she can be. If that makes sense. My head hurts. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Tig guns the ignition, the radio on the dashboard roars to life, and Broken Journey, begins to fill the inside of the ute. Don't stop, thump,
He clicks it
believe
off.
in.
I
As
think you
we,
need to
yep.
call Val and tell her the footage is bunk.
Well, we'll get.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we will cross. No pun intended. I do this every
Mm.
session.
Uh-huh.
To cross Val and
We will star wipe.
We should star wipe. Can we figure out a way to do that by audio?
You've arrived at the sprawling
Doodle-doo.
Pentex Energy Facility. A formidable industrial complex nestled on the very edge of Cowie's Bay in Marsupial, perhaps the most run-down, dilapidated part of Gateway, where every building, from houses to shops to outdoor toilets, displays a thick layer of black grime from smog. As you approach the facility, a sense of foreboding washes over you. Towering smokestacks belch dark plumes of smoke into the sky, obscuring the sun and casting a somber pallor over the surroundings. The air is thick with the acrid smell of burning fuel, and the distant hum of machinery reverberates through the ground. The facility sprawls across an expansive compound, fortified with high fences topped with razor wire and guarded by imposing security towers. Floodlights scan the perimeter, bathing the area in an eerie glow. Thick concrete walls adorned with the unmistakable Pentex logo shield the inner workings from prying eyes, creating an atmosphere of secrecy and control. You follow the path across the yard that leads to the admin building, and when you step through the glass doors, the interior provides a stark contrast to the dirty, grimy, imposing exterior. The reception lobby is lit in bright white light, immaculately clean. You can see reflections of your faces in the polished floor tiles. Not a single speck of dust on the bright white walls. A woman wearing green overalls stamped with the Pentex logo sits behind the counter. She looks up at you as you approach. Welcome to Pentex Energy Gateway Branch. I'm afraid visiting hours ended several hours ago, so unless you have an appointment, I'm going to have to ask you to come back during the daylight.
Val approaches the desk and kind of like slaps her hand down on the laminate. We do in fact have an appointment with Damien Gallows. Where would he be?
Damien Gallows. Oh, would you be Valerie from the Advertiser?
I would indeed.
Oh, yes. Mr. Gallows informed me you'd be arriving. Might I ask, who are your entourage? I have to write down everybody who is let through into the offices. I'm sorry, it's just a formality.
Valerie's not in the mood for this tonight and activates her ore, declaring, "No, you don't."
Oh? Well, so what is your charisma?
My charisma?
Yeah.
4.
4? And what is your presence?
Presence is just 1.
Fun. So that'll bring it to 5 charisma overall. Oh? Says the woman. No, well, I suppose, look, your name is notable enough. I'll just write Valerie Advertiser plus Entourage, if that's okay.
Val doesn't really dignify this with a response and cuts straight to the point. So where would he be?
Mr. Gallows is waiting in his office. Just head through the door behind me, take the first left, then the next right, then the first right, then the next left, and then the right, and his name will be just on the door there.
Valerie realizes she's literally entering hell.
Before you go, she says, holding up her hand, please, note that flash photography and any other recording devices are not permitted within the premises, and all people who are not authorized members of staff are forbidden from entering the refinery building.
What, do you think that we're going to do that?
No, of course not, she says, smiling. But I just have to tell everyone, sometimes journalists, not journalists like you, of course, sometimes some people from the lesser credible publications will try to bluff their way in here so they can take photos of the refinery and leak them online, you see. Pentex takes corporate espionage very, very seriously.
Do you give everybody who walks through these doors the same ideas?
I do, she says, and smiles. Oh, wait, no, I'm not giving you any ideas, so just... Please, have a good night! And she waves you through.
As they kind of walk down the corridors, Val can't help but talk to Mitch about what just happened. Does it seem like they want the business to fail?
It's late. I think everyone's just exhausted at this point.
Yeah, imagine being a receptionist at a energy refinery at like 1 a.m.
He's telling everybody who comes in, definitely, wink, wink, don't take photos, wink, wink, of those things.
Passing through the indicated door, find yourself in a labyrinthine complex of interconnected passages. The architecture is a blend of utilitarian practicality and corporate opulence, with glass and steel dominating the exterior while sleek marble and polished wood adorn the interiors. The lighting is sterile and cold, casting long shadows across the corridors. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to navigate this maze, and then you're standing in front of the door of the office of Damien Gallows, Junior Project Manager.
Val, kind of sneers to herself. Is this the best Jeanette could do? The Junior Project Manager.
Did get you an in. You just have to keep him distracted while the others go about their business. Maybe you can get something from him too.
She did, but she's going to have words with Jeanette about the quality of this. Senior Project Manager or better.
So Val, while you keep Mr. Gallows engaged, what would you like Cross and Mitch to do?
Whatever they want to do. Whatever they think is best.
So Cross, Mitch, Val just winks at you, telling you, do what you do best, before she knocks on the door. Miss Valerie, please, come in, take a seat, I'll be with you in a moment, comes the voice from the other side.
Are there, labels on the offices from the outside that we could see?
There are, and there's at least 3 or 4 more offices in this section of hallway, but unfortunately none of them have any names that you recognize. However, you do see at the end of the corridor a sign pointing towards Office Area B.
Okay, Mitch is gonna, activate his unseen passage and start looking for Bergman's office.
Yeah, make a rouse check for me. And what will Cross be doing, if anything?
For now, just following.
Just following? You're also going to use your obfuscate?
Yeah.
Yep. So, as Mitch fades away in front of you, you follow him down the corridor, watching his footsteps sink slightly into the carpet with each step he takes. You come before the sign. It reads, Office Area B. There's an arrow pointing to the right. But as you turn to the right, you see a door right in front of you, labelled Control Room. And it looks like you'll have to pass through the control room to take the most direct path to the office block. Or you could take your chances trying to find another way around.
Tell me more about the control room.
So, Cross, you want to take the control room, or
Just what I just see a sign that says control room.
Yeah, just says control room. Yeah, but it looks like it's something you have to pass through to get to the office block on the other side. If you were authorized employees, this wouldn't be a problem, but you don't know if there's anyone even in there at this time of night, but you know there's a chance.
What's everyone else doing?
So Mitch, what would you like to do? Control room or try your luck finding another way around? With your unseen passage, you are effectively invisible, as long as you don't bump into anyone.
So, I assume that it's kind of like a frosted glass or whatever to the control room, like you couldn't see inside of it through like a window or anything.
It doesn't look like there's any way to see inside other than just stepping through the door.
It feels like a really bad idea to just open the door, but I guess since Mitch is basically invisible, if he kind of positions himself so when the door opens, he'd be hidden behind it, I guess that it would be... He wouldn't be in direct view if anyone's in there, so I think he'd do that.
Yeah. Alright, so Mitch wants to go through the control room. Cross, are you game enough? You're not invisible.
Yeah, alright, fuck it. Cross is really good at lockpicking if it's locked, so...
Yeah. Cross gestures towards the door, and you watch the footprints in the carpet slowly approach the door, and then as Mitch's unseen hand grabs the knob and turns it, the door begins to creak loudly as it slowly opens. You're both lucky. On the other side of the door is the control room. It's brimming with monitors, blinking lights, and a multitude of buttons and switches. Here, Pentex executives and technicians oversee the vast network of energy production, their eyes fixed on screens displaying complex data and power distribution charts. None of them eyeing the door. So Mitch, you're able to just sneak through, no roll required, but Cross, I will ask you to make me a dexterity stealth. You may add
Actually,
Yep.
I think Cross will hang out and just listen on the same wall, just out of sight.
Yes. Alright, in that case, I will ask Cross to make a wit stealth check, adding your obfuscate to find somewhere to hide out of sight.
I don't think infiltration... Would infiltration apply here?
Actually, yeah, because you're not supposed to be here, so infiltration would apply.
2 successes. Shit rolls today.
2 successes. I will roll for the Pentex operatives. Luckily, they are 1 success. As Mitch silently, invisibly creeps across the room, reaches the door on the other side, and pulls it open. A couple of the technicians look over their shoulder, distracted by the sound of the creaking door, and this is enough of an opportunity for Cross to dash into the room and crouch behind a desk, listening in trying to glean anything from what the technicians are doing. Cross, you see Mitch pull the door shut behind him, and he's gone. Val, you step into Damien's office. It's not much of an office. It's a room about the size of a broom closet with just enough space for a desk and a chair and a filing cabinet. You get the impression that whenever the junior project manager needs to get behind his desk, or when he leaves at the end of the day, he has to physically climb over it because there's not enough room for him to squeeze past. Ah, Val, good to see you, he says. Please, take a seat. He gestures towards the very cheap-looking office chair opposite.
Yeah, Val approaches the cheap-looking office chair and just nonchalantly pushes any folders or loose papers off it just directly onto the floor and takes a seat.
As you sink down into the chair, the harsh light emanating from the single light bulb above flickers. The light bulb buzzes as it flickers, and you notice the cracks in the plaster of the roof and the thin layer of grime at the baseboard of the walls. And while you're in this cramped, very uncomfortable office, your Bane activates. Val, you receive a 2 dice penalty to any disciplines you try to use. Valerie!
Why does everybody have such an awful place to work?
It's a big corporation, of course. They're gonna be working in shit conditions.
Oh.
Damien clasps his hands together and he leans forwards as he looks you up and down and he says, Val, I was expecting Jeanette, but I hear your name carries just as much weight over there at the Addy.
It's everybody's out of me.
So, Jeanette's finally decided that it would be good to conduct that interview, huh? Maybe spread some love among the people, get them on board with the whole Cowie's Bay project, yeah?
Actually, before I write a piece on that, I need to know more about what the project actually is. Nobody seems to be able to give a clear answer.
Oh, well, of course, it's the Cowie's Bay project seeks to erect a monument of progress in the midst of Cowie's Bay that will provide Gateway with jobs, keep Gateway's economy firm, and guide the city into the 21st century and beyond. He's essentially just given you meaningless PR dribble.
Yeah, she's very familiar with it. Well, if you want me to write a piece, I'm going to need some actual information about what to write. I can't just say it's going to be a good thing without saying what those things are.
I thought it would be self-evident, but I guess you're talking about specifics, aren't you?
Always.
Val, go ahead and make me a manipulation persuasion check. You can turn on your ore, but...
it should already be on.
Yeah, but with your Bane active, your ore's not going to provide any bonus.
Oh, sad. So, manipulation persuasion, sorry?
Yep.
Success of 4.
Success of 4. Well, specifics. I'm going to have to be clear that not everything I say can necessarily be printed, but I can give you some information.
Please, anything that helps me write the article is appreciated.
Well, the Cowie's Bay project is the brainchild of our current head of board, Mr. Elliot Dawkins. You see, we were given research that was conducted by an external party working for a subsidiary of Pentex Corporation that indicates that materials of great value and use for the purposes of energy production can be found within Cowie's Bay. It took us several months to narrow down the location exactly, but the project is essentially to put a platform directly above where these material deposits are and, well, dig them up for the benefit of everybody in Gateway.
So, when you say materials, what are you referring to? Oil? Because that's nothing new. We have plenty of oil.
Could write down that it's oil, he says, uncertain of his words.
I could, but I wouldn't want to publish false information.
Look, what the actual materials are, that we cannot reveal. Only those who are privy to the initial research conducted by the Pentex subsidiary, those who are on Mr. Dawkins' pay grade, are even allowed to talk about it. I can confirm it's not oil. Oh, don't worry, it's nothing radioactive or anything like that, he says, perhaps reading the look of concern on your face.
So, I can write down it's oil if I want, but it's not oil.
Oh, sure, he says, we don't expect the public to differentiate between oil or isotopes or minerals. At the end of the day, it all gets burnt to generate electricity, does it not?
So then why is this special? Why is this important in the least?
Well, what awaits us in Cowie's Bay would provide a steady flow of energy to most of the state for decades to come, with very little investment or resource consumption. It is, for want of a better word, far more efficient than natural gas or oil or coal or any of the other usual suspects.
So you've discovered a new method unbeknownst to everybody else in the energy sector, and you have approval for this, right?
Approval? Well, we have approval from the mayor to construct the platform. We have approval from the state government to begin mining operations. And, well, aside from that, nobody needs to know the specifics. After all, this is cutting-edge stuff we're talking about. Trade secrets that Pentex's competitors would do almost anything to leverage themselves.
But you really don't think that this is something that concerns the wider scientific community? So I'm not a scientist, but even I know there's regulations that have to be followed. You have to get approval for new materials.
Go ahead, Val. This will be hard. Make me a manipulation plus persuasion or subterfuge roll. And I'm going to require at least 4 successes on this one.
Alright, let's see what the dice do for me. 4, there you go.
4, exactly 4. He thinks for a moment, and then he leans over his desk. None of this will be printed. This is all off the record, do you understand?
Of course.
As far as the public is concerned, the Cowie's Bay project is in service to an as-of-yet unrevealed cutting-edge method of energy production. The specifics are handled by my supervisor, the senior project manager, Mr. Walter Bergman. Unfortunately, he hasn't been in for several days, and I'm sort of handling more than I know what to do with at the moment. As I understand... Yep.
What you're saying is that Walter has this information and you don't know what you're doing.
No, what I mean is, well, normally this is above my pay grade, but in Walter's absence, Mr. Dawkins is relying on me to handle the logistics of the project, and, well, I'm no scientist. Neither of us are, so I do not understand the specifics of how it all works, but I can tell you that, as I understand it, there is an element completely new, completely undiscovered within Cowie's Bay, and the properties of this element would allow us to effectively generate clean energy for the next 50 years. Now, the element, as I understand it, due to its untested, unknown properties, requires a specific method of resource extraction, and that's where my overseer and Mr. Dawkins come in. It is not merely an oil drilling platform. No, to extract Infernium, we require specific technologies, and that is what is above my pay grade.
So, Val quietly feels her little tape recorder whirring in her breast pocket and keeps scribbling down information. It takes a moment to reply to him. So, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to fabricate a story? Is that essentially what you want?
Oh, no. Standard puff piece. I'm not asking you to make things up. You need only express the positives of this project. It'll bring jobs to the city, prop up the economy. Just write about how Pentex is leading the way forwards.
To what?
To prosperity and a bright future for the whole city. to the world once this is proven to work.
So it's not proven to work? What is this?
We won't know for sure whether the material can be refined in such quantities until we've extracted it. Up until now, we're going mostly on small-scale research, single particles, tiny chunks brought up from the ocean floor. We need the Cowie's Bay project to go ahead so that we can extract it in quantities sufficient. Of course, he says there is a chance that it won't work, in which case we'll all be out of a job, won't we? But, well,
Hold on, something
Mr.
about this.
Dawkins is convinced that this is the way forward.
Something about this absolutely does not add up. You say it's going to be the technology of the future and energy for 50 years for the entire state. But you'd say you've only tested certain particles, and you don't have enough to determine whether it'll work. It sounds like you don't know what you're doing at all. This doesn't add up. You're contradicting yourself.
I assure you that Mr. Dawkins has personally verified the research, and the research is provided by a very trusted party. I'm not at liberty to divulge their name, and even if I was, I don't know who provided the research, but Mr. Dawkins is 100% on board.
Valerie writes a little note underneath his name that says "Fall Guy Incompetent" on her notepad.
That's pretty much what you get the impression he is, but he's not aware of it. Poor Damien Gallows. He's going to not realize what hit him when it comes. You think
Valerie's given him plenty of chances to ask questions, even in this scene.
If I may ask, Miss Val, when you publish this, you're not going to put my name in the article, are you? Just refer to a Pentec spokesperson.
Why? If this is such a fantastic project with such rapturous technology in it, then why wouldn't you want your name to it? Wouldn't you want to be considered to be a vital piece of this new architecture?
It's that, well, see, when I reached out to Jeanette to schedule an interview, Mr. Bergman was here, and he was supposed to be the one speaking to you, but as I've been lumped into filling in for him, I'm afraid I don't have quite all the answers. And so I think it best if we err on the side of caution and simply attribute anything that was said in this room to an unnamed Pentec spokesperson.
I think if I'm going to publish anything, I want my facts straight. Where is Walter?
Well, I know his address, of course, but I'm afraid it's against company policy. I can't just hand out the address of a fellow employee.
No, but when's he coming into work next? You said he hasn't been seen for 2 full days.
He's called in sick. We got a phone call from his therapist stating he was unfit for work and would be for at least the coming fortnight.
I understand you can't give me his address, but tell me about this therapist.
Therapist? He said his name was... let me think. I answered the call personally. He thinks for a moment. Dr. Cryer.
Dr. Cryer, as in Dr. Carl Cryer.
Yes, Carl Cryer, that was it, yes.
Suddenly everything is falling into place a little bit for Val. And... right, okay, so you haven't actually heard from him personally?
No, but... Oh, you don't think something's happened? Surely not.
I've been wanting to talk to a man named Carl Cryer for several days myself.
Oh? Should I be concerned?
I think you should.
Val,
I think you definitely should.
make me a charisma performance check, please.
That's a successive one. She's not a good performer.
Do you want to willpower that?
No, not really. I don't think it'll work out well for me.
He takes a second, and he composes himself, and he says, well, I'm sure Mr. Bergman is fine. He's not the type of person who would run into trouble, and for what it's worth, I did Google this Dr. Carl Cryer, and it seems his qualifications are above board, so I wouldn't worry. I do wish you the best of luck with tracking him down, however, but I think, well... He looks at the watch on his wrist. I think that about comes to the end of our time, Val, if you don't mind. I have a report I need to compile before tomorrow. If you have any last questions, I'd be happy to field them.
Yes, if I want to get in contact with Carl myself for an urgent matter, where would I find him? Sorry, not Carl.
The doctor?
Walter.
Walter.
Yeah, Walter.
I suppose I can give you his contact number. Here. He scrawls it down on a post-it note and hands it to you. No harm done. That's his work number. So if you give that a call, and, well, he's the type of bloke who'd have his phone on him even when he's off sick. I'm sure you'll get through.
Val kind of stuffs it in her breast pocket, neatly sliding it behind the tape recorder. Yes, I'm sure I will be able to get hold of him.
He smiles. Well then, it's been a pleasure, Val, and I hope this is the start of a wonderful working relationship with the advertiser.
Definitely. I'll send Jeanette your regards.
He holds out his hand to shake yours. Do you take it?
Yeah, why not? This poor guy.
You shake his hand, he flashes you a smile, and he waves goodbye as you step out of the room back into the corridor. Meanwhile, Cross, hiding in the control room. The room is filled with the hum of machinery, the beeps and clicks of consoles, the soft murmurs of the technicians monitoring the energy production. There are a few things you could do here, Cross. You could try to get a look at some of the charts, maybe get an idea of exactly what they're looking at. Maybe try to get into one of the computers and snag something. Or you can simply remain where you are and hope that one of them drops something sweet as they talk amongst themselves.
I think it's just gonna eavesdrop.
Eavesdrop, yeah.
Like,
Alright.
why take extra risks in here?
Yeah, Cross, go ahead. Make me a wits awareness check. And you may add your Auspex heightened senses.
It's a very nice roll. Please don't fuck me with this time, dice roll, please. Messy 6. I'm gonna avoid that messy.
You're gonna spend the willpower to avoid the messy?
Thankfully, I have a lot of willpower. Yeah, it comes down to 3.
Probably a good idea. And next session, you can always get in touch with your touchstone to get something.
Yay! I'm sure it'll love that.
Sure, you'd love talking to Darcy, but
That's 3 successes.
3 successes. So you're sitting there crouched under one of the consoles, just listening as the technicians lean in, whisper to each other. To anyone else, it would just be a soft murmur. Yet another hum mixed into the cacophony of computers and machines and industrial noise. And most of it's the normal stuff you could expect anyone to be talking about as they work over the night doing the graveyard shift. They're talking about the football and whether their team won and the petty dramas happening at home with their wife and daughter. And to you, Cross, it's incredibly boring, incredibly mundane. And if you were living, you just might fall asleep from the boredom. Thankfully, you're no longer living, and so you're aware and alert when one of the consoles beeps and a technician hurries over, examines the chart on the screen, and then turns to his co-worker, leans in, and whispers, Have you seen what's going on with the Infernium? What do you mean with the Infernium? Latest batch brought up from the ocean floor. We're refining it and... yeah, it seems good. Look at the energy up there off the charts. Like, that's what? 10 grams of Infernium generating the same amount of energy from several days of burning coal? Yes. But... see, here, when we started the refining process this morning, the energy levels have gone steadily up until here. See this spike right here? Yes. Yeah, I see. That's when the machine nearly... yes, when the machine nearly failed, and that was when Anthony had his... Oh. You're right. The time even lines up. 4:23 p.m. and that's when... yeah, that's when Anthony grabbed the stapler off his desk and tried his very best to embed it in Macy's forehead. Shit. He's in the hospital now, right? Yes, he is, but... do you think it had something to do with... no, it can't be. Look. Whatever it means, you keep quiet. Everyone knows Anthony was overworked and... look, surrounded by this beeping all day, and with Dawkins and Bergman riding us like they are, it was only a matter of time before he snapped, right? Anthony's psych evals have been coming back steadily worse, and... Yes, but Anthony's the one who's been in charge of recovering the stuff from the seafloor, and... So it all coincides with him being exposed to the Infernium, and... Shut up. Do you want the bosses to hear us? They'll shit-can us. Alright, fine. Look, come over here. I need your help with Reactor 4. Okay. You hear the footsteps of the two technicians stepping away, and their voices are swallowed up in the hum of machinery. You can no longer hear them. For the record, since your audio cut out just as I said it...
I think I got it for chat, but tell me.
So basically, on their chart, they're claiming they had a spike in energy, and the energy reading spiked at the exact time when one of their co-workers grabbed a stapler and tried to staple another co-worker in the forehead with it.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought.
Yeah. You're not willing to wait around for them to come back, so taking the opportunity, you creep out from under the console, make your way to the door, and exit the control room. Mitch, I'd like you to make me a wits investigation check, please. And Mitch, do you have heightened senses? I think you do have Auspex, don't you?
I do have Auspex. I don't have heightened sentences, but
yeah.
I did get 2 successes on wits awareness.
On your wits awareness. So what Auspex power would you have? Let me just check. You'd have sense the unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like you to do a wits Auspex roll as well, please.
3 successes.
3 successes. So, after several more minutes negotiating the winding corridors of Pentex, you find yourself in front of the door. That, according to the plate on the front, belongs to Walter Bergman, Project Management. He's not in, but luckily the door's unlocked. You slip in easily, still invisible, and his office isn't much more spacious than Damien Gallows' one that you saw Val head into. You have to crawl under his desk to get to the other side. The desk itself is empty, and there doesn't appear to be anything on the desk. That is, until you begin to call upon your blood. Call upon your beast to help you find something, anything, to discern the patterns, to see what lies in adjacent timelines. Your beast purrs in the back of your mind. We're now on a different path. As something that was previously invisible materializes on his desk. A manila folder. Somebody's written in neat handwriting on the front, Cowie's Bay platform. Before you check it, though, you do a thorough search of the filing cabinet, pulling open the metal drawers, rifling through the stuff within. Most of it's old reports, ledgers, rosters, completely useless, but then you finally find what you're looking for. A copy of Mr. Bergman's employee contract. And written in the same neat handwriting down the bottom is his current place of residence. Apartment 405, 22 Bruce Street. downtown. You copy it down onto a piece of paper on your own using that silver pen that Mitch carries everywhere, and then you turn your attention to the manila folder. The manila folder that should, for all intents and purposes, not exist, indeed did not exist until moments ago, and something is calling you to it, something unseen, a presence that you cannot quite comprehend, urges you to pick it up and open it. What do you do, Mitch?
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
I
can
think
hear you
that
now.
he would want to, he wouldn't want to, like, sit there and read it just in case. He'd just want to slip it, like, into his bag and try to get out with it.
Make me a resolve plus composure check, please, Mitch, because something desperately wants you to open it right here, right now. And as you lift it off the desk, it's like your fingers are moving against their will, about to pry it open.
4 successes.
4 successes, and yet, somehow, after a series of deep breaths, you compose yourself. If you read this right now, you'll ruin things. It's not what fate wants you to do, and with great effort you slide it into your coat and exit the office. About 20 minutes later, Val, Cross, and Mitch are walking out of the Pentex building, crossing the vast concrete yard, the spotlights casting them in an ominous glow as smokestacks block out the stars and moon above. In the distance, light grey begins to peel at the edges of the sky. It's not long till sunrise. And as you pile into Val's summoned Uber, and Val directs the driver to take you back into the city, that urge lingers in the back of your mind, Mitch. The folder. Do you produce it so the others can see?
No, I think he'd want everyone to look at it at once.
Yeah. In that case, you'll have to wait till next session. Because we shall end this episode here. As fingers of grey begin to peel back the darkness, you only have a couple hours to regroup, quickly catch each other up on what you've found, and then return to your havens to succumb to the day sleep. You've peeled back a layer of the mystery, and just like an onion, found more questions than answers. Tomorrow night, you shall dig even deeper. You have Walter Bergman's address. You have his phone number. You know where to go, where to find this missing ghoul. And hopefully find out how Nadine Brandt and her sire are connected to something unfolding that is clearly greater than you ever anticipated.